What's up, YouTube? Me again with another edition to the biblical summary. We in vegetables or bitter things of the scriptures, which is the punishments, the curses, the pain, the threats, the woes, the destructions of the scriptures, basically. The curses, basically. Um, Today's topic is the two-thirds. What is the two-thirds? The two-thirds is the non-chosen of God, basically Israel. The Israelites that will not make it. The Israelites that was not chosen by God, basically. Uh, the cursed Israelites, basically. The Israelites that will not receive salvation right now. You know what I'm saying? You always had a two-thirds, which is the opposite of the elect, the chosen. Like in Noah's day, he was a type for the elect. You know what I'm saying? Him and his sons and their wives on the ark. They was on Noah's ark. They was in Noah's ark, and they were spared from the flood. But the rest of the Israelites, they wasn't spared from the flood, and they died in that flood. You know, so you always had an elect, and you always had two-thirds, just like you had the people in the wilderness when Israel came out of Egypt. Not all of them seen the promised land. Not all of them of that generation that came out of Egypt. Not all of them got to see the promised land and enter into the promised land. Only a few of them did. You know, so it's the same thing right now. The majority of Israelites, so-called Native Americans, American blacks, West Indians, Caribbean blacks, the majority of them is not going to be saved because they're part of the two-thirds. You know what I'm saying? So let's prove this in the scriptures. Okay, go to the first scripture, go to Zechariah, which is in the Old Testament. Zechariah chapter 13, verse 8. Zechariah chapter 13, verse 8. Okay. And it reads, Zechariah chapter 13, verse 8. And it reads, And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord, two parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. Right, the one third is the elect, two-thirds is the curse, basically. The ones that won't make it. The one third is the elect, the chosen. Let's go to the next verse. Verse 9. Zechariah chapter 13, verse 9. And it reads, And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined. And I will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, It is my people. And they shall say, The Lord is my power, my God. So yeah, that's talking about the elect basically, and that fire is the troubles that's coming upon this earth in the end time. You know, Jacob's trouble basically, the famine, the economic collapse, the wars, the pestilent disease, the missiles and the lake of fire. You know what I'm saying? Esau's new world order system, the mark of the beast, martial law, all those terrible things that's coming in the future. God is going to deliver the elect from that. Some elect will die for their testimony, but they immediately, as we already learned in previous lessons about the elect, they return with the Son, with the Lord Yahushua, when He returns to the earth to deliver the elect that's still alive and take the so-called white man Esau down and the other nations down and cleanse the earth and start the everlasting kingdom. So yeah, so that's what that's talking about. So let's go to the next verse about the 2/3. Go to Second Ezra. This is an apocrypha. Second Ezra, chapter 9, verse 22. Because yes, even though Israel is the chosen nation of God, right now God is being selective. He has he's only dealing with a certain selection of those people of Israel. You know, and that's just how it is right now. Okay, this is Second Ezra, chapter 9, verse 22. It says, "Let the multitude perish then." The multitude is the 2/3, which was born in vain, and let my grape, which is the elect, be kept, and my plant, for with great labor have I made it perfect. Right. So the multitude shall perish. The multitude, the majority of Israel shall perish. Okay. Go to Second Ezra, chapter 8, verse 50. Second Ezra, chapter 8, verse 50. And it says, this Second Ezra, chapter 8, verse 50. For many great miseries shall be done to them that in the latter time shall dwell in the world, because they have walked in great pride. Right. That's the mark of the 2/3. They're very proud. You know what I'm saying? You can't tell them nothing, man. They very proudful and arrogant. A lot of our people is under that spirit of being prideful and arrogant and wicked and unbrotherly. You can't tell them nothing. They're unreasonable. They can't be reasoned with. They said, for many great miseries, that don't sound good, shall be done to them that in the latter time shall dwell in the earth, meaning the end time. We're in the end time right now, because they have walked in great pride. Right. Our people is into all type of wickedness, homosexuality. You got a lot of Israelites into homosexuality, and they proud of it. You got a lot of Israelites that's proud of their wickedness. They call themselves savages. Yeah, I'm a savage. I'm a goon. They proud of being killers. They proud of being hitters. Especially here where I live in Illinois and Chicago. That's all it is, man. Celebration of a gang culture, celebration of ignorance, celebration of you know, women being whores and thoughts. You know what I'm saying? And being proud about it. Uh, just, just terrible, man. You know what I'm saying? Um, Very proudful when it comes to doing evil, man. You know what I'm saying? And being wrong, doing wrong. That's how this current generation is. Okay. Uh, let's keep reading. But understand thou for thyself and seek out the glory for such as be like thee. Right, that's talking about the elect, man. You know what I'm saying? Because this was to Ezra, which Ezra was a righteous prophet of the Lord. Man. So the understanding is for the elect, man. For the 1/3. For unto you this is come to the elect, to the 1/3, the first fruits. For unto you is paradise open, the kingdom. The tree of life is planted. The time to come is prepared. Plenty and plenteousness is made ready. A city is builded, and rest is allowed. Yeah, perfect goodness and wisdom. This is to the elect. The root of evil is sealed up from you, to the elect. Weakness and the moth is hid from you, and corruption is fled into hell to be forgotten. Right, because we already know from the last study that we did about Yahweh's return that the elect when Yahweh return, they're gonna be lifted from that corruptible body. They're gonna be changed from the corruptible body to the incorruptible, incorruptible body, basically the spiritual body. And weakness and corruption and all that is gonna be non-existent in that body, because that's a perfect body that don't age or get sick or none of that. Next verse. But that's to the elect right now. Only to all of Israel later on. Because 2/3, which we're talking about now, the 2/3, they're gonna come back as the elect's children, as the first fruits children in the kingdom of heaven. But on this side, they gotta die first. Sorrows are past, and the end is shown. And in the end is shown the treasure of immortality. Right, that spiritual body grants us the elect, the hopeful elect, whatever you are, will grant you the treasure of immortality. Okay, next verse. And therefore ask no more questions concerning the multitude of them that perish. Right, the multitude is going to perish. You know what I'm saying? I'm reading out of 2nd Ezra chapter 8, verse 55. It says, and therefore ask thou no more questions concerning the multitude of them that perish. You know, so that's what you should be following. I'm on 2nd Ezra chapter 8, verse 55 right now. And it says, I'm reading again. And therefore ask thou no more questions concerning the multitude of them that perish. Right. Because, you know what I'm saying? The multitude is the 2/3, and they're going to perish. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing we can do about it. Nothing that can be done. It's God's will, basically. For when they had taken liberty, verse 56, for when they had taken liberty, they despised the Most High, thought scorn of his law, and forsook his ways. Yeah, our people just don't operate under a godly mentality. They don't think nothing of the Bible these days. They don't think of nothing of righteousness these days. Wickedness is celebrated and uplifted. You know what I'm saying? And if you're not like that, then you consider like a lame or something right now amongst our people. You like a lame or something. You know what I'm saying? You like a reject if you're a nice guy. You know, like they say, nice guys finish last. Nice guys is boring and all that stuff. You know, don't be a square. Don't be a square. You know what I'm saying? Moreover, they have trodden down his righteous. Yeah, people disrespect the people that try to do good, and people that try to do good. A lot of times you're getting hurt out here. You know, catching innocent people getting shot. You know, so all type of mess, and said in their heart that there is no God. Yeah, and that knowing they must die. Right, because that knowing they must die. Um, a lot of our people don't believe in God, and right now, a lot of our people don't even believe in God. A lot of our people say that God doesn't exist. A lot of our people is into this atheism. They into atheism. Sorry, they atheists. You know what I'm saying? They don't believe in God. You know what I'm saying? They carnally minded. See, the difference between being carnally minded and spiritually minded is a carnal minded person. They put they put God at the bottom and the flesh at the top. Actually, you know what I'm saying? But a spiritual man puts God first. A spiritual mentality considers what God thinks. A fleshy mentality doesn't. It put God as the last of their priority. Last thing they thinking about is what God said, or you know what I'm saying. They don't care basically. You know what I'm saying. They don't consider the instructions of the Bible or the way of the Bible. They don't consider it in none of their actions. And that's how people is very wicked and mean spirited and unbelief and atheists and think ain't no consequences for their actions. You know what I'm saying? Very arrogant, like I say, they arrogant and proud. Uh, like the scripture said. All right, let's keep reading. For as things aforesaid shall receive you. So basically, what it's saying is the blessings and the kingdom and immortality and the good things, the blessings, the scriptures that we're talking about. That's what you're gonna receive as was in those that's like you, that's part of the elect. They're gonna receive that, but the 2/3 gonna receive this. So thirst and pain are prepared for them, for it was not his will that men should come to naught. Let's keep reading. But they which he created have defiled the name of him that made him, and were unthankful unto him which prepared life for them. And therefore is my judgment now at hand. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because our people rather be evil. You know what I'm saying? Judgment is now at hand. You know what that's just how it is. We'll see. And shit, the fan, Jacob's trouble, which that's coming up about Jacob's trouble. we'll see during Jacob's trouble who really is the elect and who is not. All you can do is hope that you part of the elect. Because if you're not, it just said thirst and pain. Pain is for the 2/3. Curses, curses is for the 2/3. You know, but blessings is for the 1/3 elect. That's what you want to be on that side, not the other side. So let's wrap up the this lecture and let's go to Ezekiel chapter 9, verse 4. Ezekiel chapter 9, verse 4. Ezekiel chapter 9, verse 4. And it says, and the Lord said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. Right, so all the people, all the men, basically, that's, you know what I'm saying, all this chaos and all this bad stuff that's happening out here amongst our people in Israel, those that want to change, those that want different, you know what I'm saying, those that's not happy with the way it is, those that's not part of the problem, you know what I'm saying, those that's against the bad things that Israel's doing, that's against all this bad stuff, you know what I'm saying, that want a difference, you know what I'm saying, that want to change in Israel's circumstance, you know what I'm saying, you know, that sigh and cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. You know what I'm saying? Set a mark on their forehead, basically. Okay. So that would be the elect, basically. That mark is a basically that they won't receive uh, the curses and the bad things. That mean they exempt from judgment, basically. That's what that mark means. Exemption from God's judgment, meaning His destruction, His curses. As far as you know what I'm saying, like basically they part of the elect. Basically, that's what that means. Basically, that's why I brought this up. This scripture is explaining or showing you the difference between those that's blessed and part of the elect and those that's cursed and part of 2/3. Just keep that in your mind, basically. And to the others, he said, in mine hearing, go ye after him through the city and smite. Let not your eye spare, neither have you pity. Slay utterly, verse 6, Ezekiel chapter 9. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children, and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. Then they began at the ancient men which were before the house. Right, so that's the difference between the 2/3 and the 1/3. The 1/3 shall receive mercy, and the 2/3 will not receive mercy. And that's what this uh, scripture just showed you. Say, read out it again. Slay utterly, this is Ezekiel 9:6. Slay utterly old people and young people, kids or whatever, young men, teenagers, but both maids and little children, right? And the women, because there's a lot of our women is very wicked. So, but come not near any man upon which is the mark, right? That exemption from judgment, and begin at my sanctuary, right? That mark is basically meaning you part of the elect, basically. You know what I'm saying? Then they began at the ancient men, the old men, which was before the house, right? So a thorough cleansing of our that's just how it is. It's bitter. We on bitter topic. This is the harsh reality. There's going to be a thorough cleansing of Israel, basically. You know what I'm saying? The Lord demands it. This is bitter topic, and this is bitter. This is something we have to accept. That's what the Bible said. It's God's will, and there's nothing we can do about it. All you do is hope that God ain't talking about you, that He have mercy on you. Yours, mercy on you and yours. That's all you can hope for. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. But that concludes the lesson for today, man. And I hope you learned something. And goodbye. See you in the next lesson.